People will never be able to forget the hell that Lukashenko made in Belarus. Thousands of prisoners, thousands of tortured people are waiting for people's help.
Hello and welcome to GZERO World. I'm Ian Bremmer. You knew that. Today, a look at what happens when a dictator yells fire in a crowded theater, or in this case, bomb, on a plane flying between two European cities. The false alarm led to a diverted flight and the arrest of a dissident journalist. How should Brussels and, sure, how should Washington respond to Belarus? And what role, if any, will an exiled schoolteacher play in redefining the politics of this former Soviet state? I tackle this and more with that former teacher, now turned leader of Belarus's opposition, Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya. Later, a look at how a 73-year-old great-grandmother is defying police in the capital city of Minsk. But first, if you ever doubted just how seriously Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko takes democracy, look no further than the most recent Syrian elections. The man who has held Minsk's highest office since 1994 sent a delegation of election observers to Damascus just to make sure that everything went smoothly. And boy, did it. Bashar al-Assad clocked in for his fourth term with 95% of the vote, which makes you wonder. Anyway, no surprise that Lukashenko's last bout with the ballot box gave him a similar landslide. That is, according to Lukashenko. Frequently called Europe's last dictator, Lukashenko has sailed smoothly to victory in all 6 elections he's stood in, despite widespread corruption and fraud in every one. But in 2020, the biggest threat so far to Lukashenko's tight grip on government came in an unlikely package: a former schoolteacher, stay-at-home mom. Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya decided to run for office after her activist husband was jailed and disqualified from running himself. It's said that Lukashenko did not take her candidacy seriously enough because she was a woman. I'm kind of getting some Duterte vibes here, Philippines leader who said the president isn't a job for a woman. What's wrong with these people? It's not the first time Lukashenko himself sounded like a lunatic. Here's his hot take on COVID.
Здесь нет вирусов никаких. Вот ты же не заметила, что они летают?
I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. After the election result was finalized in Belarus, and you guessed it, Lukashenko claimed victory, hundreds of thousands of protesters took to the streets. At least 4 people died, thousands were arrested, some were tortured and beaten. Then, Lukashenko's boldest move yet.
There's been a chorus of condemnation across Europe tonight after a Ryanair plane flying from Greece to Lithuania was diverted to Minsk in Belarus, and a dissident Belarusian journalist on board was detained.
Though Belarus is routinely ranked the most dangerous place in Europe for journalists, hijacking a plane flying between 2 European capitals to capture a political foe raises the bar even for Lukashenko. European officials were not pleased. The bloc banned Belarusian planes from flying over European airspace, called for sanctions, and even pledged to spend 3 billion euros on a democratic transition if Lukashenko agrees to step down. How did Lukashenko respond to the pressure? He flew over to Russia to meet with his longtime buddy, Vladimir Putin, who no doubt had some good advice about how to hold on to power. Is a democratic transition remotely possible in Belarus? And are Western sanctions likely to accomplish anything meaningful when Russian ties still run so deep? I speak with Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya about her hopes and fears for her country. Here's our conversation. Svetlana, thank you for joining today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the invitation.
Just days ago, dissident Belarusian opposition activist Roman Protasevich, who's now been in police custody since his plane was forced down in Minsk, openly wept in a TV interview, if you can even call it that, with state television. And spoke favorably of President Lukashenko. He disavowed you and other opposition allies in the process. I'm wondering how it felt for you to watch that interview.
I watched this interview, but I didn't pay attention to to what Roman was saying. I was looking at him, just trying to understand how much he was tortured, under what conditions he is speaking. So we are not discussing the content of this interview. We have no moral right to discuss such things because we know how those who are in prison are made to speak anything regime wants. So our task not to discuss this, but to discuss how to release Roman and how to release other political prisoners.
You yourself flew on the same flight path through Belarusian airspace. Why do you think they decided to take his plane hostage and not yours?
I flew a week before Roman's flight, and I really don't know. It was the situation when we changed the tickets very fast. We were supposed to fly with another flight. Maybe this didn't give them chance to prepare, but we can speculate on this, a lot. But we don't know if it was really an attempt to kidnap me. At that moment, when we bought these tickets, we didn't think about safeness because we are flying above Belarus, because we knew we're flying from one European country to another, and we couldn't imagine that regime could cause international scandal just to kidnap one person. We were shocked. We were really shocked, and we see consequences for regime that he gained with this hijacking.
Were you surprised that President Putin invited, and I'm sure President Lukashenko had no choice but to accept the invitation, to come to Sochi a few days later? They were looking like the best of friends, sharing a meal on Putin's yacht. Talk to me a little bit about how you related to Putin's response to all of this.
The strangest thing, maybe the most obvious thing, is that the whole world understands that these two people are not friends. They are making this picture to try to persuade Belarusians and the other world that they are together. They are supporting each other. But we know that the situation, Belarus crisis in Belarus, is not convenient for Kremlin as well. But so is from the election day, Kremlin supported Lukashenko, maybe because Kremlin also didn't expect such huge uprising, such consistent uprising, but they also, it's in their interest to try to get out of this crisis. They supported Lukashenko at the beginning, and they trying to be consistent in their foreign policy, but they would like to get out of this crisis. Kremlin, but they can't afford that new elections will happen in Belarus because of uprising of people, because people want democratic changes. And they now are trying to keep time for Lukashenko, maybe to prepare a candidate loyal for Russia and so on. But we always send message to Kremlin. Our revolution is not geopolitical. We always will be neighbors. This is the inner situation, and we ask not interfere into political issue of this crisis.
You obviously have gotten a lot of support from the West. I've seen so many statements from countries across Europe, the United States, Canada. The responses from the West have been very strong diplomatically. Economically, of course, the sanctions are more limited. Has the Western response, in your view, been appropriate to date?
Right after fraudulent elections in August and September, European answer was rather quick. There were 3 packages of sanctions and help to civil society, but I don't think it was enough. We didn't catch this moment when the European Union and together with the USA and UK and Canada could do more. But since December, there were no sanctions, new sanctions, no high-level conferences or roundtables about how to solve crisis in Belarus, and we saw the result. Lukashenko felt impunity, and he hijacked this plane. So European Union and other countries, democratic countries, understood that this time response should be much stronger. And we hope that the fourth package of sanctions will be powerful, and the fifth sanction list is being prepared. So because Lukashenko now is threatened not only to Belarusian people, he's threatening to other European countries and the world.
Extraordinary bravery on the part of the people of Belarus, finding ways to turn out and demonstrate, even though they know violence can be used against them, even though they know they can be taken from the streets and thrown in prison. There's no rule of law. How do you sustain this kind of an opposition movement, given the power that the Belarusian government and the military and the police and the state media and all of the rest, given how much power they have?
You know, people will never be able to forget the hell that Lukashenko made in Belarus. And people understand that thousands of prisoners, thousands of tortured people are waiting for people's help. And people now are structurizing themselves. They are organizing new structures like striking committees or neighborhoods, different initiatives to continue the fight. Because everybody understands that people who are in jail now, thousands of people, they hope only on those who are still on freedom, and they know that we are not stopping, we are not giving up, because it's our duty to, first of all, to release all those who are years already in jail, and to together bring our country to new democratic elections.
What's life like in Belarus for the average citizen right now? Describe it a little bit for an audience that has never been there.
You feel that you don't have rights at all. You can't speak. You know that if you say something against regime, you will be jailed very soon. Going out to work, you have to take special bag with you, where is extra socks, extra pants, just in case you will be kidnapped somewhere or taken from your job and put in jail. You have to always be in stress, just understanding who will be your children with, who will take care of your parents, just in case you will be jailed. You don't feel safe, you don't feel comfortable, you are struggling, you are trying to support people who are in jail, but you are trying to fight in different ways, just writing letters to political prisoners, participating in different initiatives, putting everywhere our symbols to show that we are still here. You know, we are scared, but we are strong enough to resist you. We can't go out to the streets, in such mass demonstrations as in August and September, because we felt the cruelty of the regime, but we will not stop for sure. And at this moment, we need support and help of other democratic countries. We didn't have opportunity to develop our country because we were nobody for our government. You know, one person ruled for 26 years Belarus and didn't give people to realize their ambitions.
We know that you want Lukashenko and his regime out. It's very understandable. Do you still want to be president yourself?
I'm not going to participate in new free and fair elections. In the election campaign, I declared that I'm together with Belarusian people, going to fight against regime, and together with people organize new elections. But then people will gain the right to choose anybody they want, new candidates. But my mandate will be stopped there.
Svetlana, last question for you before we go. Do you think today that Lukashenko believes he's winning?
Absolutely not. He has already lost. He lost his image of strong president. Instead of being the first president of Belarus, he became criminal in the eyes of Belarusian people. He is nobody in the eyes of Belarusian people. European leaders are not shaking his hand. So he's a person who couldn't finish his career with dignity.
Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya, you're an incredibly courageous person, and I really appreciate you joining us on GZERO World.
Thank you so much.
When Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya began her bid for the presidency, Lukashenko dismissed her campaign because he said society was not mature enough to vote for a woman. The weight of the presidency, he added, would cause her to collapse. Poor thing. I'm not making it up. That's actually what he said. Far from it, women have emerged as the movement's greatest force, and one great-grandmother has become a fixture on the streets.
The streets of Belarus's capital are being taken over by women.
A group of women emerged, marching in the capital wearing white, carrying flowers.
This revolution will have a name. I think it will be a women's revolution.
In August, after the elections, and women came out to the streets again when thousands of people were arrested. They came out with flowers in white clothes, and police was shocked because they did not expect, this peacefulness, this, flowers, these laughs, these smiles.
Забиваете людей, это нормально. Ты, сука! Московский грабитель! Она пойдет, возможно, цветы и выйдет обратно.
Nina Baginskaya is called the grandmother of the protest movement. She's been around forever. She's been attending rallies, protests since, basically before I was born. It was the late 80s. It was still the Soviet Union. So she was always with this white, red, white flag. And that's how everybody knows her. And it really gives an example to everyone, to the youth, obviously, to students, because when they see her protesting, walking with this white and red, white flag, they just understand that, we have to join ourselves, right? We have to join the movement. She's an example to everyone of courage, of empathy, of resilience, of the patriotism.
That's our show this week. Come back next week. And if you like what you see, or you're thinking about a vacation in Belarus and now you realize maybe not such a smart idea, why don't you take a minute to sign up for GZERO's most excellent morning newsletter? It's called Signal.